Yeah, this is really cool. Well, you know what? I was feeling it. You understand. Thank you. So I decided to start doing this. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hi. Me too.
Tony Gomez! Welcome, guys. Welcome. Hi, good evening. Before we begin, I want to thank you all for taking the time to be here. I know there are some things people are going to ask. I appreciate you. Tonight, we're going to hear from three speakers. Our first speaker, Amy Robinson. She's going to introduce the problem that is happening out there right now and other problems that we see people facing every day. Our second speaker, Tim is a resource. He is going to coaching on these solutions that we put together and how we that we feel is needed to apply to right now. And for our third speaker, Tim is Brett Sears. He's going to bring the problem and solution together and talk to you about the opportunity. Once again, thank you all for coming tonight. And we'll be around after. But please,
Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Hello, hello, hello. I'm very excited that you guys are here tonight, and I'm excited because, as we were talking about before the presentation, tonight for us is really about sharing our story. We, a group of people in here, have committed to grassroots movement to make a difference in this world, starting with ourselves and our family and our community. And the only way that we can actually make that difference is by sharing our story. So every time a new person walks in the door, we get to share a story. So thanks for contributing to my excitement tonight. So what is this problem that we're talking about? At the end of the day, this problem is not earth-shattering. It's just a matter of looking at it, perhaps through a different lens, a bigger minded, of how the world works. At the top, we've got wealthy people. We're all familiar with wealthy people. We all like to be a wealthy person, right? That sounds like a good idea. Living in Beverly Hills, not a bad idea. So what do wealthy people have, right? Wealthy people have access to education, long history of education. They have access to ownership. You know, I always like to say that we work the corporate ladder and wealthy people own the corporate ladder. Access to financial freedom. What is financial freedom? Financial freedom in here is about having the time and the money to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want to do it, and I won't judge you for that happens. And what does that really mean? Like, how many of us know lots of people with a whole lot of time and not a whole lot of money. Right? And then there's those of us who were once lawyers who did really well and had zero time. This is about having both. And that's what's happening at the top. And there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who wake up every day and say, what goods, what services, what can I do to serve people at the top? Because they can pay. So at the top, we've got institutionalized service. And as we're also talking about in this great country of ours, at the bottom, for the folks who are not so wealthy, we, as a society, have committed to take care of the most basic needs of the people who have the least. And how do we do that? We do that by providing free preschool and college grants and hundreds of thousands of nonprofit and government programs and people who wake up every day and say, I want to have the greatest impact on the people who have the least in our society. And so we've built in institutionalized support. And a group of us looked at this and said, this is pretty awesome. Lots of people are taking care of folks at the top. Lots of people are taking care of folks at the bottom. And what is happening in the middle? These are the folks that we call mainstream families. Mainstream families are folks who tend to live paycheck to paycheck, make anywhere from $40,000 a year to $300,000 a year as a dual income family living in Stevenson Ranch or Santa Monica. And the difference with mainstream families is they want their children to go to preschool, but they don't actually qualify for the free preschool. They want to own a business, just like the folks at the top, but they don't have $500,000. I'm a startup lawyer. It takes a minimum of $500,000 of capital to start a business, not just because it takes a lot of money to start a business, but you've got to eat while the business is growing until it makes its first dollar of profit. And so what's happening in the middle is that we actually have institutionalized struggle. We don't know any better. There are 70 million families in the last census count in this country. And it's a problem that it's actually okay to be where we are because our parents did it. And our grandparents did it. And look, there are lots of people who are worse off than us. But the truth is that this is social justice. And so what does it really mean, right? We can all sit here theoretically and nod our heads like, oh yeah, lots of people sit at the top, and lots of people have access to goods and services for free at the bottom, and the rest of us are, doing the best. So we took a step back and said, well, what does this look like? Because it affects each person in our community. See, there are a group of folks, I look at my parents, and they're the first generation. Most of us don't know this. They're the first generation that will retire with a 401k. They're going to get a big chunk of money instead of a pension that my grandparents had on a monthly basis. I read an interesting statistic this week. 75% of my parents' generation are delaying retirement because they don't have enough money to actually retire at the age that they thought they were going to be able to. The average age of retirement moved from 65 to 69. That's a lot of years of continuing to work. See, they call themselves the baby boomers, I call themselves the crisis generation. Because they're in crisis. They have very little time to make up for what they didn't prepare for. And then we talk about folks with new families, right? I have 11-month-old twins and 11 and 13-year-old stepsons. I absolutely want my kids to be able to go to preschool. And I'm praying for the twin discount, right? Because we're talking like $30,000 a year for preschool. Loans and early withdrawal. This generation is going to take more money out of their retirement savings and actually get penalized for it than any other generation. And again, we'd love to own, but we don't have any capital. My generation is called the Gen X, Gen Y generation. I call it the stuff generation. And the real problem is we don't even know. We don't even know that it could be different. And then we got Tony's crew. And y'all sit there like, it's all good, because I'm trying to figure this out. Let me share with you what's happening to your generation. Your generation currently is destined to have no retirement plan, most likely no social security income to rely on, fewer job opportunities than any other generation coming out of college, more debt than any generation that we've seen, both because of college debt and because prices are going up and salaries are not going up at the same rate. And it's actually harder to get into college today than at any other time in our lives. So while this generation, thankfully, is very idealized and wants to make a great difference in the world, and they call themselves the millennials, I call y'all the screwed generation. Because the truth is, unless we make a change, unless we see something different, you're screwed in every way. So this hits each of us differently, and it hits all of us the same. Because it's all a result of not having access to the tools and the resources of wealth. Whether it's the wealthy grandparents, the wealthy families, or the rich kids. That's the problem that we're facing. 70 million families. Millions of people at different stages of life stuck, and they don't even know. So now I have a question. What if there was a way to do that? What kind of impact would that have? What if you wake up tomorrow morning and know that you can pick any job opportunity, any college opportunity you qualify for, and not worry about how much debt you have? What if you woke up tomorrow and knew that you were able to lead through preschool and college without a question? How would you feel if you knew that you could pick your retirement age and feel certain you were going to retire at that age? How could your life change? How can we change the lives of our community and the people that we know that we need if we gave them a solution to that? That's what tonight is about. That's what we come to do here. With that, I'm going to invite Wade up to share with you the beginning of our solution.
They love music. Everybody would be cooler if they would go in slow-mo and have a little entry music. You'd be like, hello. No, I was actually a little thrown off because we've changed the presentation a little bit tonight. So Robin usually has like a little extra slide where I psych myself up and like, go Robin, go. And then she just went right into it. So I'm half psyched and now I'm fully psyched after that explanation. So how's everyone doing? Good. I got last really time. All right, so Robin actually pointed out something that was really impactful because basically every single person that is in those three groups, which is effectively everyone except for the top 5%, is impacted similarly, even though they're very different groups, right? And so what we want to do is, okay, so if we don't have access to the financial education, we don't have access to the financial tools, what do? Right? Do we just give up and say, well, I guess the system has changed. I guess the American dream doesn't exist for me anymore. I guess we don't live in the same place that our parents lived in, okay, or our grandparents or whatever. So what do? Well, the first thing that we want to do is we want to say, look, there's a big challenge and misnomer that all wealth is inherited, right? Most people think, well, that family is rich because their parents were rich or their grandparents were rich, right? But the truth of the matter is that even in our society today, where all of those people are being impacted, 88% of all millionaires were first generation. That means roughly 9 out of 10 people started from scratch, started where we are tonight in this room, right? Does anybody here have $1 million saved? No? All right. So 9 out of 10 millionaires started just like we are in this room today, right? So what that means is that it's not necessarily the system or the opportunities. America is still the richest, most powerful country with the most opportunities in the entire world. It's just that maybe there's a group of Americans that are leveraging that system differently than the rest of us. And that's the system, that's the people that we call the wealthy, right? So if they're leveraging the system, then maybe we want to start thinking about how the wealthy are leveraging the system, all right? So what we did was like, look, we identified there were 4 principles of the wealthy. The first thing they do is they lock in advances from their family. What does this mean? Well, if they're already wealthy, they do things like trust funds. They do things like They create an institution of the family, and you're going to college, and then they have inroads to, like, I'm an alumni of Harvard, so my kid goes to Harvard, right? So if you're already wealthy, they know how to protect their wealth and the human capital of their kids, which is a fancy way of saying they just transfer their knowledge to their kids about how to leverage the system, right? Okay. So, but what they do is that if they're first generation wealthy, meaning that they're the first ones, they do the exact same thing again with trust funds. The moment they get wealthy, they're like, okay, how do we preserve it for future generations? Okay. The second thing they do is they develop habits. Look, Rob is show the access gap, right? There's 70 million families in the middle, and there's institutionalized struggle. What are we taught, right? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's the culture of the middle class, right? We're gonna work the problem ourselves. When the proverbial stuff hits the fan, what do? We turn off the phone and we go to work, right? Well, that idea of working yourself out of a problem keeps everyone in struggle. Because then what do we always do? We're just rats and maze. We're on the wheel. We can't get off the wheel because we spend all of our time putting out fires, and we spend zero time over our entire lives building something. We talk a lot about how do we build something. Brett's going to talk about perhaps ways to build a business. Robin talks about how the wealthy, have access to the tools, right? But in the middle, where we're stuck, we don't have any time, or we think we don't have any time to build anything for ourselves. So the wealthy understand that we have to develop habits. They know that we have to leverage experts. Look, the wealthy do not do their own taxes. Okay? I have a twin brother. I have a very inexpensive accountant, right? He does my taxes. My brother chose to do his taxes himself. My brother is getting audited, and now my brother's freaking out, right? We're twins. We come from the same place. And the thing is that, like, look, I learned a long time ago that the moment I could afford to outsource things I'm not good at, I did, right? Now, it doesn't matter if you can't afford an accountant right now. That's no problem. TurboTax is great. I'm not saying don't do your own taxes. What I'm saying is, part of your plan, realize the moment you can afford to get an accountant, get an accountant. The moment you can afford to have someone else fix your car, have someone else fix your car. Don't try to do it yourself unless you're in, right? And the last thing is the wealthy understand they have to cultivate strategic partnerships. This is critical. Everybody here knows who Oprah is, right? Right? Oprah's a billionaire. Okay, she came from nothing relatively. I think she was many people in her family, right? And she has a quote that I love that she says, and I'm going to paraphrase here, that there are about 6 relationships in her life that are responsible for her having $1 billion. Right? I guarantee you that those 6 people weren't the first 6 people she worked with. I guarantee you that those 6 people weren't the first 6 people she learned to cultivate a relationship, right? She made her life about creating strategic partnerships, and out of those, 6 people came and changed everything because she can start to leverage their abilities, their power, their role. Right? So these 4 simple things, they're not magic, right? There's this illusion that we're taught that if you want to become wealthy in America, you have to be able to sing a song, right? Or get an American Idol. Can you sing, David? Did you sing in the shower? He does, doesn't he? Right? And the thing is that's just not true. We can apply these over time, right? So how do we do that, though? Look, none of us have $500,000 like Robin says to start a business. Does anybody have $500,000 in the bank right now? If you do, I'd like to loan it to me so I can start a business. No? Okay. So we need to go a different route. We can't go the traditional route of, it'd be so easy for me to say, David, all right, here's how you get rich. Go to Harvard, get $1 million loan, like Donald Trump did, go to the business school, and then build your real estate empire, right? That'd be a terrible plan. So we have to leverage the tools of development. Okay, well, our first strategic partnership that we can look to is Primerica. Why? Primerica has been in business since 1977. They have $3 billion in cash. They're listed in Forbes' top 50 most trustworthy financial companies. Their sole purpose in life is to deliver the access to the information and tools that middle group of people about this company. And frankly, they're the only company that's doing it and doing it in the right way. All right? So their whole, because no one's talking to those people. Look, if I gave you $250,000 and you put it in an account, in 10 minutes you would get a call from the Chase Wealth Manager. 10 minutes. Is Chase Wealth Manager calling you right now? No, right? Primerica is the only company that focuses on, they don't care if you don't have $250,000. Like, what do you have? And let's start working on what you have to start moving you from anywhere here in at least the direction of development. So that's our first strategic partnership. So, cool. We've got a strategic partner now. How does it impact what we're going to do? Like, specifically, right? Well, rule number 1, lock in advances for our family. We can't do a trust fund, but what we can do is we can do something called level term insurance. It's very simple. You rent a bag of money, you pay, you die, they pay. So I have life insurance because I don't have $1 million saved in the bank. If something happens to me, my wife and my unborn daughter that's coming in April won't have to worry about it. My father, who did not know about this, right, had a business that he was a construction worker, and then he worked his entire time. And now he's 72. Thankfully, he's alive, but we were totally unprotected the entire time he built his business. So if I was 11 years old and something happened to my dad, guess what I would not be doing? Running any kind of business or his business. I would go be working construction just like he, because he didn't understand the concept of locking into business. The second thing is develop habits. We do this through mutual funds. Look, you can open a mutual fund account and start saving for $50 a month, right? I blow $50 a month on the silliest things on accident, right? I don't even do it on purpose. I'm like, oh my God, I look at my coffee bill for the month. I'm like, oh, I went to Starbucks. Like, you only have to go to Starbucks. Not a lot of times to go for $50. You know what I'm saying? So instead, if you want to start developing a habit and place that in a mutual fund, which since the beginning of the stock market has returned anywhere from 9 to 12%, right? We'll learn more about that in a little bit. Because if you start that when you're young and get in the habit, and you start to make more money, guess what's easier to do? See? And then leverage extras. So this is actually a cool part right here, right? And that's our managed accounts. I had a meeting with a guy today whose father sold his house, and now he has a bunch of cash that he doesn't know what to do, right? And guess who got a call from him to put that money in a Chase account? Chase Wealth Manager, right? So that Chase Wealth Manager is an expert, but he's trying to help him only now because he has the money that he needs, right? So he's freaking out. He has never had this much money before in his entire life, right? He came into it because his dad sold a house, right? And no, he's 55 years old. In the previous 54 years of his life, no one has ever talked to him about his money, and he's freaking out because he doesn't know what to do. And the fear that he has is, I'm going to lose my father's money, right? So I sat down and I talked with him today, and here's how this impacts this, right? Let's talk about something specific, right? The rule of 72. This is the rule of money. We talk about access, right? Let's talk about access to financial information. The rule of 72 is very simple. It says you take the number of years, or excuse me, you take the interest that you're getting on your money, you divide that into 72, and that will give you the number of years it takes for your money to double. Why is this important, right? Well, my daughter is 0, right? She's not born yet. She's still in my wife's belly. Gets in my belly, right? So if I'm getting $10,000 and 3%, and I put it in there, in 48 years when my daughter is 48, she'll have $40,000. Not too bad. If I take the same 10 grand and I get 6%, same amount of money, when she's 48, she'll have 160. And then if I find 12% by investing in the strength of the American economy, when she's 48, she'll have $2.5 million. It's the same amount of money, right? So I can take it to the bank, give it to them, $40,000. I can go somewhere and get 6%, 160, or my daughter can have $2.5 million by 12%. Since 1920, at the inception of the stock market, it has returned somewhere between 9 and 12% consistently over time, right? Wait, okay, great. It's investing. I know I got to save for my future. That's great. That doesn't get you excited. Let me tell you something that's even worse. We use the rule 72, right? Here has a credit card. Does anybody ever notice that the highest credit cards are 23.99%, right? Why don't they go to 24? Well, some would say, oh, it's Congress and blah, it's a law. I don't think that's why it is. Here's why I think it is. What's 72 divided by 24? 3. Evenly, it's 3. What that means is that your $5,000 credit card, I don't think you have this magical person here, right? Your $5,000 credit card that you give to Chase, they double in 3 years. And what do they give you on your savings account? 1%. The banks in the system are doubling their money off of us every 3 years on our credit cards. So if you can't get excited about 48 years from now, get excited about 3 years from now. You're giving everything you have in your credit cards to your bank again. And no one's mad about it. I sat with a guy today who's 55 years old and no one has talked to him about his money for 54 years. It's real, guys. The access gap is real. What we do is not just some fantasy thing up there where we're like, oh, let's talk about money. It's that if you have a credit card, you're giving your money to your credit card companies, and when you get some money, then they'll start to talk to you. So, and finally, cultivate strategic partnerships. We already have one in Mexico. right? But we believe here in this room that there is strength in our numbers, right? Look, we're not super big, right? But we're going to keep telling the story, keep telling the story, keep telling the story until someday we're going to get a large group of people that aren't happy about the fact that we give our credit card companies double what their investment is in us off our backs into institutionalized struggle every 3 years. That's our strategic partnership. So I get excited because what I just showed you was a 2 to 3 generation game. Why? Because if you teach your kids this and you do this yourself and you realize that credit is about the worst possible thing you can do because you're leveraging your future and you're getting the banks rich, your great grandchildren or grandchildren will be up here at wealthy folks, right? And that's exciting. And I promise you is that on the way to that 3 generations, your life can get better your generation by following this plan. You can't be financially wealthy, meaning you can't do whatever you want, any style that you want, but you can be on the path of being financially secure. So this is not a small thing. And I get super excited about it because I sat with a guy today who's 55 years old. No one's ever talked to us when he was 54 years old. That's what I'm doing. So we're fired up about that, and I would like to bring in the great Chris here.
Oh man! So thank you guys for being here. It's funny as we start this. And I'm sitting at the back of the room and I'm listening, and it's so interesting to me to think about how this can be a sign on a wall or a life-changing experience. See, I walked into the Primerica meeting 20 years ago. Right, I was 7. No, 22 years old with $24,000 in credit card debt. Right, when and the only thing I knew about money is I didn't have it. Right, I was graduating from UCLA. I was on my way to Stanford to continue my education. Like I had things planned, and I walked into a room, and they start talking about insurance and investments and debt. And to be honest with you, for the most part, none of that meant much to me. Like everyone I knew was broke. Am I the only one in the room that knows a bunch of broke people? Right? And how many of you know people who know a bunch of broke people, and you happen to be one of the people they know? Some of you don't get excited about that. See, the challenge is because everyone I knew was broke, it wasn't strange to be broke. Right? I hear people tell stories about guys that go to college and they're like, oh, you eat top ramen and Kraft macaroni and cheese, and it's just what you do when you go to college. Am I the only one that ever heard that? Like those are the things you do, right? Well, then all of a sudden I started meeting other people that I had said that that's what they do, and they're looking to go, what life are you looking at? Like, we didn't do that. Like, oh, wait a second. And I started to realize that what I knew to be true wasn't necessarily true. And that gap is really what tonight's about. Tonight's not about changing everything you think about the world. It's about introducing some things and to ask yourself, where did your truths come from when it comes to money? Where did your truths come from when it comes to building something? Right? Because they just talked about this 2 to 3 generation plan. Now think about this for a second. Let's just say your grandparents, how many of you had them? Okay, right, all of us at some point, right? Right? Your grandparents would have listened to this and would have followed this, taken advantage of the Rule 72, put a plan to get out of debt, done everything they needed to do, and then they would have taught it to your folks. And your folks would have continued doing exactly what their parents told them how to do and created. And then when you were born, they set you up accounts, and every month they went over the accounts and you started saving, investing, and now you're 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years old and your ass is stone wealthy. How many of you think your day today might have been a little bit different than the day you actually spent today? Now, every once in a while, someone's like, well, money's not everything. I know, oxygen is more important. But it does provide some options. Well, see, one of us, none of our grandparents did that. But see, all of us have seen pictures of our grandparents, and they look so young. You guys have all seen that picture, right? You're like, oh my God, they were so young. They look just like you, right? And it goes like this. And so when we talk about that, you see, one of the things we've got to do is understand tonight is about this 2 to 3 generation plan. It's not okay because, see, before I walked into a meeting like for Primerica, I didn't know the Rule 72. I I didn't know that there were ways that you could get a 99, 10% rate of return. I didn't know there was plans to get out of debt. I didn't know there was someone that could help. And so it was really easy for me to blame it. No one taught me. It's its fault. No one else is helping me. But the reality is when I walked into the room and I learned this stuff, it was no longer its fault. It was now my responsibility. Now, some people get excited about that. Some get a little stressed, right, wherever it goes. Right? But it's just that introduction. But see, part two of this is, again, at 22, 30-year-olds are old. I'm 42, 30-year-olds are kids. It's amazing how that shift happens, right? All of a sudden, I remember going 40, you got the walker and the little thing, right? Now, all of a sudden, we're like, all right, 70's not that big. Like, we got some things to do, right? We just got, we're just figuring the world out at 50 and 60, man. Let's go, right? So we go later. The idea of sitting around for our grandchildren to get wealthy, though it's the responsible thing to do, might seem like a long time from now, right or wrong. So my question to you is this. What if there was a one-generation plan? What if there was a possibility for people from average and ordinary backgrounds, where America has this thing where they say average and ordinary people. I struggle with that because I don't think any of us are average or ordinary. I think all of us are nuts. Just our own special kind of nuts from average and ordinary backgrounds, right or wrong. Like if all of us came up here and told the dumb, stupid, crazy stuff we think and do, all of us would take a half a step away from it. Is this not true? Right? Well, I share it too much right now. Right? That's all right. It's all right. You'll get to know me and you'll share, right? So you said, okay, if we want it, let's talk about this. There's got to be a plan. And it's ownership. Now, it's not Primerica ownership necessarily, but it's ownership. If you don't walk away from anything today except, I better make sure that I've got a plan for my finances because I don't want to work until I die, that's step one. Step two is, if you dream about being free, your ass better own. I've been cussing now twice, right? But you understand, you better own. The delusion of you're going to make those long-term goals and dreams come true without you owning is a fairy tale. And you don't know me, you can disregard this. Do all the research you want. Outside of you being able to slam dunk a basketball or sing on American Idol, you are going to work until you die unless you own. And so once I understood that and I settled that, then it was like, okay, what are my options? Because I am not a good employee. I've never been the type of person that you can tell me where to go and what to do. You tell me where to go and what to do, I'm going to tell you where to go and exactly how I think you should do it. I might draw a picture. Right? And I'm not saying that's good, I'm just saying it's true. Right? So we said, okay, well, what about this? Right? There are key needs that make for all these groups, whether the baby boomers, the Generation Xers, the millennials, right? There's got to be keys for every single one of us. Because we all bring different skill sets. We all bring different advantages. We all bring different relationships. Everything that goes through. How do you build one system for everybody with different experiences? That was one of the most exciting things to be able to do. Because we needed to have the ability for you to build something for you and your family. Not for someone else's. Not just to fit in somebody else's dream. Yours. What are your passions? What are your long-term dreams? What are those things? How do we start the ability to start where we stand and build what you need in your life? You see, man, if we really wanted to give access to this group of people, if we really wanted to deliver ownership, we'd have to have the flexibility for people to be passionate about what they're passionate about and have it fit. And then the ability to be in charge of how they help. Is 10 grand a month enough? Is 50 grand a month enough? Is $1 million? What is the number? All of us have some sort of quality of life that we go, this is freedom. For me, when I got started, I remember the desire to be able to have every bill on automatic draft. Now, this was before automatic draft was a big deal, right? I remember joining the gym and people were like, well, we're going to take it automatically. We're like, no, you're going to go in and steal it. Now, with the ability to have all of your money on automatic draft and not worry about the account. From phase one, that was my first phase of freedom. See, all of us have this space that says we can start to own our life, right? Whether it's wherever we are, what phase we can attack. See, everyone's needs and dreams are different. What would an extra $500 to $1,000 be? We've got folks that work with us that are in their early 20s, that live at home, that don't have big expenses. And they go, man, if I can make an extra $500 or $1,000, mom and dad are going to give me the flexibility to do what I need to do, and I can learn how to be an entrepreneur, and I can have some freedom. We've got folks in here that have, you're married with a couple of kids, an extra $500 a month puts their kids in preschool, allows them to save for those education accounts, allows them to do those little extra things. Then we've got folks in their 50s and 60s that say, man, if I make an extra $1,000, I can take my grandbabies to Disneyland, I can do different things, I can pay my bills. See, it's about what does it fit for us. Now, some of us go, great, well, what about an extra $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000? Is that possible? See, all of a sudden it allows us to start saying, you fill in the number, right? The meeting tonight, the reason we're having this conversation is the person that invited you sat in a room and said, what I'm doing isn't accomplishing all that I want, and I want more. And so if I can make an impact and I can create something, this allows me to start dreaming again. It allows us to be curious, to be inspired. The reason you're here tonight, we call tonight our Allies, Advocates, and Associates night. This is about how do we have the people in our lives be crystal clear as to why we're doing this. Because taking on the world alone is hard. Having to figure it all out on your own is a challenge. Who said, man, if the most important people in our lives are clear as to what we're doing, why we're doing it, then we're unstuck. And so you understanding and you having this is where this is, allows us to have that flexibility. I didn't animate this, right? We were working on it. But I got a question. If somebody accomplished what you would want to accomplish, showed you step by step how they did it, and helped you throughout every challenge, would you be successful? This isn't a trick question. It's a pretty simple one. If someone had done what you wanted to do, they laid out the plan, they walked you through step by step in every challenge. Now, this is really important because it doesn't say there aren't going to be challenges. It's they're there and they help you navigate every challenge. If you had someone in your corner like that, could you be successful? The really interesting question is, how many people line up for that job? How many people at this point in your life satisfy those 3 steps? At 22 years old, I had exactly nothing. I had a manager at my job that would always give me extra shifts because he didn't have to worry. Because if I was there, no one was going to steal, the job was going to get done, and he was going to be able to go be with his family. So he had no problem giving me the responsibility, but no desire in teaching me how to do what he did. Could you be successful? Yeah. Well, see, if you want to know what tonight's about, what we are, is see, this room, we're business incubators. We're building a business incubator designed on purpose to create and sustain high-level entrepreneurs. Well, this is a fancy way of saying that. Whether you're 23 or 50, all of us could use somebody who's already been down the road. Couldn't we? Could you imagine not having to figure it out? Because see, in business or in anything, there are 3 components: knowing what to do, knowing when to do it, and having the energy to do it. Most of us spend so much time trying to figure out what to do and when to do, we have no time or energy to actually. He said, man, we can take those first 2 off the table. Why? Because 70 million families are stuck, and we need great people to help us. The only way we solve this problem is together. See, this isn't a theory, and this isn't about vitamins and cookies and herbs to blow up your stomach. This isn't about like some random thing that doesn't really matter. All of us are going to die. Is that a fair sentence? All of us want to be able to retire. Is that a fair sentence? That if we have children, all of us hope that our children get old enough to go to college and then get accepted to a place. These are not fairy tale ideas. They happen. Whether we're in a position to do it or not. Why is this important? Because our community knows what's coming. Politicians are going to fix it. Banks and insurance companies have no interest in changing it. It's us. So we said, we got to find this. We said, how can we start where we stand and build something real? It's got to be built in a very specific way. We said, look, if we wanted to attract, if we wanted to grow, we needed low capital entry. Why? Because we can harness the entrepreneurial spirit. There are people in our lives that know that they've got something inside that says, man, I'm supposed to do something but they don't have the $500,000 of capital. You understand how frustrating that is to know that you could, but you can't? You come from the wrong side of the tracks. You don't have the education. You don't have the finance. You don't have the resources. There's a million people lining up telling you why you can't, but you have the spirit and the desire to. So we said, man, let's reduce the capital so we can find the people that really want to do something. We need a partnership platform. Why? Because we needed a build support system. Because we don't have to be great at everything. If you open up a small business, you got to be great at all of it. The problem is most of us are good at the front of the house. We're not that good at the back of the house. So we don't worry about the back of the house and we start losing profit. Or all of a sudden we start getting good at the back of the house and those at the front of the house and we're in conflict. We said, man, there's 70 million families that stuck. Why don't we let Primerica be great at financial services? Why don't we have an unbelievable back office so we can get good at telling the story and build a business from scratch? The support still gets done. The opportunity still gets done. The expertise still gets to be delivered. But we get to leverage our partners rather than be responsible for all of it. And then it's got to be worth it. We need a transitional path. We need the opportunity to start part-time, to be able to keep the security of our job. Why? Because desperate people do desperate things. Great. Look, none of you woke up this morning and said, well, I've done absolutely nothing in my life. I really hope the meeting tonight gives me a pat. I'm assuming. Maybe. But for the most part, very rarely do people sit around waiting for a good idea to show up. We do the best we can with the information. Which means we're already doing the best we knew how. We said, man, but if there was a way to be able to keep doing what we're doing and learn something new and have some teachers and trainers and show us an impact and make more money and the opportunity to grow, man, we could attract the best of the best. People that know they're supposed to do something special, that have that spirit, that have the desire, but they can't just walk away. We said, man, that allows us to do something right. See, because our business is built on the premise of a low for. Tonight, maybe you're out. Maybe someone invited you to come to the meeting because they simply wanted you crystal clear on the problem. 70 million families are stuck. The fact that they don't know it, which is a bigger problem. That there's a legitimate solution by applying these 4 principles, their financial life, a financial game plan, and a legitimate path to do it. And so as an ally, that's important. As our advocates, there are people in your lives and my lives that want to make more money or want to do something different or need to plan or need to talk to somebody they don't know how or they don't know who. And if you have a clear picture of the impact of what we're trying to get accomplished, it's that much easier to tell them, I know someone you need to talk to. I know someone you need to meet. I don't know if what they're doing is perfect for you, but doggone it, you have to meet these people because they're passionate about it as they're advocates. And there might be some in here that go, wait a second. I believe in what you're doing. I know folks that need it. And I'm not where I want to be, and I've got this entrepreneur spirit. What if I participate? Is there a place for me to change this one generation path, whether I'm 20 or 50? Well, we said, okay, we created a position we call our GAP, our Gathering Asset Partners. You heard Robin talk about the fact, right, that 10,000 people are turning 65 years old every day for the next 19 years, and this is the first generation that's ever had access to a 401k or an We talked about the gentleman he talked about to talk to today is 55 years old, and no one's talked to him because he didn't have the money that he had. He had $6,000. The guys at Chase Wealth Management aren't interested if you got $6,000. They're interested if you have some commas in. So all of a sudden, these people are getting ready to retire. They've never talked to financial advisors, and now all of a sudden they're retiring with $300,000 or $400,000 or $600,000. Do they have any idea how to talk to them? People are going to line up. Now, every once in a while I tell this, and some of you are like, well, I don't know what to say either. That's the beauty of our system. Because we've got the relationships with the people to make sure that the right products and services are there, and we just get to make sure that we receive them. And then we said, look, you got $1 million in assets, that's an extra $4,000 or $5,000 a month, or $4,000 or $5,000 a year in passive income. We have a lot of our gaps. They're in their 20s and their 60s. They say part-time, if we get to know people, we introduce this, we've got the ability to make life a little bit easier. Passive income starts to change the way things work. If on the first of every month you got a check for $291 or $611 or $1,437, would that make life just a little bit more peaceful? That's the power of just that. We've got some part-timers, people that love their job. I sat with an amazing couple last night. She's a teacher. He's a DEA agent. They both love what they do. He's like, it's so fun. I ride around and I like, and he's just telling me all these stories. Like, he loves being a DEA. It's the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, that's so great. And I look at his wife and I'm like, she goes, I love teaching, but I got a little baby daughter and we're in an apartment and we don't make enough money to live where we want to live. I go, what if there was a way to make an extra $1,000 a month and continue to break down doors because your ass loves that? And he's like, well, that would be fun. See, it's not about getting them to quit. It's about leveraging. Look, for every family that we help, locking the events, helps people make $200 to $900. Changing a family's life makes the path that they're on continue. He gets to knock down doors. And we got to talk about making sure that their daughter is going to go to college. That they can go on trips and maybe they can buy a house. And then there's others that are like, that whole love my job thing, that might not be me. Is there a way out? And we say, yeah. What if we let your job give you the ground cover, the cover fire you need to be the engine you need to learn? Because you make enough money in your job. It bills keep food on the end of the roof right to the door. What if over the next 3 months, 6 months, a year, you were a student and you actually learned? Because I asked you, if somebody had accomplished what you wanted to accomplish, helped you step by step how to do it, and they walked you through every challenge, could you be successful? That's what this is about. I've been here 20 years. We built the #1 team in the country. This isn't something we're trying to figure out. A handful of years ago, we took a step back and said, okay, we're going to rebuild this thing from scratch. We're going to take a step back, and we're going to just see how do we do this again. This is one of the most fun times in my life because this isn't a matter of if this is going to work. This is a matter of who we're going to attract and how big we get. Because I'm an entrepreneur. My wife and I love this. And this is our stuff. Because this is where now that's not true. All this fun. But there are a handful of folks who say, okay, I understand this part-time like gap thing. I understand this part-time or full-time. Hey, it'll be kind of fun here. But what about this ownership now? It's possible. Well, the benefit of ownership is passive income revenue. The opportunity to have 3 sources. Not 1 or 2, 3. It allows you to build security, flexibility. See, passive income is the ability to earn money off of business and work. As you're developing and you're growing, $15 million of assets under management, $100,000 a year of passive income. You build your team, right? You calculate each how it's spent. You find $30 million of assets to your team. That's an additional $100,000. You build an office that helps 30 families lock in their advances. Not 300, 30. There's 18 of us in the room. This is not a big size room. 18 of us. We understand that that's each of us helping 2 families a month over 30 days. If we all agree that's not an overly aggressive goal when 70 million families are stuck, that's all right. And if you teach them, we sat in a chair just like this, just like I did. I had no idea what tonight was about. We walked in and said, all I know is I'm not where I want to be. If someone teach me and show me how to do it. We can show them how part-time, how to grow, and how to get their license, how to get their skills, and how to develop the process. Take an extra $500,000, $2,000, $5,000 a month, and they develop into what's called a regional vice president. They build an office that helps 15 families, 1 every other day. They'll make $8,000 to $10,000. It starts to alleviate the pressure. But the only way that happens is someone. So we said, let's align our goals. See, for everyone that you develop and teach how to do that, the company pays us $6,200 a month. That's about $72,000 a year in profit. Because you took something, you taught them, you trained them, you showed them, you helped them get successful, you helped them through every step of the way, through every challenge, you showed them how to get successful, how to just after what you did. Now that doesn't mean it's a limit, but let's underprove. Now I'm not the greatest at math, but I figured out 172,000, that means 2 is 144, 3 is 210, 4 is 280, and 5 is $350,000 in profit. Well, if you have $200,000 in passive income, $200,000 in revenue, and $350,000 in profit, that's $750,000 a year. I have a question. In the next 5 to 7 years from tonight, someone in this room started out part-time, learned, develops, change, build a business, leverage their jobs, why they created, got full-time, became a vice president, learned how to do it themselves, then learned how to grow, how to develop assets along the way, and then teach another human being how to do it over the next 5 to 7 years. Do you think you might know somebody that has that entrepreneurial spirit that says, man, if someone will show me, I'll do it. And over the, if you have it, you think over the next 5 to 7 years, you could find one a year that had the same people. $750,000 starts to give you the flexibility to get free in generation. That's what tonight's about. Whether you're 20, 40, or 60, everybody's business is the same. 70 million families are stuck. Whether it's as an ally, as an advocate, or as an associate. This group of people has a legitimate shot of the next 10 to 12 years to change this country. It starts tonight, it starts here, and now. You have much other things to do. Your financial freedom is already in your power. If it is, congratulations, keep the relationship. But you know what? I can go this is the ability to build a business with my wife, for us to build a partnership, we get to spend the time with the world, we get our life to help other people change. That's the way to spend the life of these kids and to be able to make it. That's we talked about the fact that we're going to be here next Wednesday. What if each of us just brought something? Just introduce one more person here. Are we going to embarrass them? No, we're going to have the same conversation. Some of us need to speak Spanish, so on 28th, we're going to be here. And it's going to be in Spanish. So we've got the ability, guys, there's an opportunity to grow because we said we're going to align ourselves with people that are passionate about change. If the right opportunity presents itself, the right people will bring it. So I thank you for coming. We're going to be here, hang out, get your questions answered. We're awesome here on Saturday morning, jeans and t-shirts. Right, just kind of hang out and really understand what we talk about. That this is an incubator. That our job is to teach people how to get successful. That's all we do. We early, late, night, weekends, wherever it is. This is our opportunity. It's a family business. Our entire family. We have 4 kids that are all involved. Our support system is all involved. We are passionate about growing this thing. We are passionate about introducing ourselves to this country and letting them know the right people showed up. Right? So guys, I want to thank you for coming. If there's any questions, let us know. Have a great night. Thank you so much.
I'm going to